Welcome to Impact Society, another episode where we're going to be dropping gems for you to understand how you can impact your life with our resources and tools. Today's guest, we actually have our funding guy and credit repair guy. His name is Colin, and so stay tuned for another episode of Impact Society. Welcome back for this episode of Impact Society, and my guest today is a business partner of mine named Colin. Colin, how you doing, my brother?
Good, brother. How are you?
Man, can't complain. Another day in the beautiful city of San Antonio today.
Mm-hmm.
And
nice
let's give the audience a little bit of understanding about your background, your upbringing, and then we're going to talk about how you got into the business, and then eventually how we partner and help people. Cool?
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
What's your background? Where did you grow up? You said Arizona?
Yeah, I grew up in Arizona, basically Horse County in a way. Mostly raised by my grandparents, actually.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so grew up, we were certainly not well off, but we had what we needed. Mm-hmm. Always had dinner in a way. And then my grandfather passed away when I was 17.
Gotcha.
And then from there, me, my grandmother, my mom, we just kind of had to make it happen,
Gotcha.
right? So I never had a real opportunity to go to college. And then I had an opportunity, though, to actually leave the country. So I went to the Philippines for a couple years.
Okay. How was that?
Brother, life-changing. Yeah. Which is crazy because I actually speak Filipino. I speak fluent Tagalog.
Really?
Which I'm the last dude anyone would expect of that.
I did not expect
Yeah.
it.
Then
learn something new.
After the Philippines, then I moved to Washington.
Okay.
That's where my father's family lives.
Okay.
And in Washington, kind of worked a couple of odd-end jobs, and then I got into automotive industry.
Okay.
So I sold cars for years and years and years. I did really well with that. Eventually went from selling cars, went into the finance world there, the finance office. But that's how I learned my first taste into banking, first taste into how credit operates and things of that nature. And then from there, basically from there, it was kind of game over.
Nice.
Made really good money there, really good money. But I was working 80, 90 hours a week. So I needed to find something else, and had a client come in. She needed to buy a car. Single mother, had a bunch of kids with her. Her van broke down, and at that time, I had already fixed my own credit. Because growing up, I no one to teach me those sort of things.
Right.
So I had like bad credit cards and things like that. Fixed my own credit sometime before that, but going back to this lady, came in, desperately needed a car. We couldn't get her financed anywhere. And then I just said to her, hey, I'll fix your credit totally for free. I think I know how to do it. I did it for myself, but just let me try. And then about 90 days after that, she was able to buy a car.
Nice.
So that was my first taste. Okay, this is something kind of cool. And then I started doing it for other people coming into the dealership that couldn't get approved. Basically, I just told the dealership, like, hey, I'll do this. I'm not getting paid for it, but I just want to do their paperwork so I can take care of them.
Nice.
And eventually, people started referring their family and friends to me, and I got like $12 grand a month doing this completely part-time. And at that time, I was like, hey, jump, right? It's either sink or swim, but I got to try.
Right.
And that was my very first business, was credit repair,
Nice.
which I still own. But
Yes.
that then segued about 6 years ago, segued into helping my clients get funding because I needed my own funding. And, well, the reason why I needed funding is I grew the business pretty big at that once I went all in. I grew it pretty big, but I was really cash poor because I liquidated my 401k, I used credit cards, I bootstrapped the whole thing. Right? And put out a couple of applications because I didn't know any better. Put out applications for like business loans. I got 2 MCAs approved, totaling about 90 grand, but I would have paid back. If I remember correctly, I would have paid back close to $170,000 if I took them, right? So I turned them both down after, should I do it? Should I not? Should I do it? And I figured if I did those, I had to execute perfectly, otherwise I'm sunk.
Yeah.
And then I just went on YouTube and tried to learn a little bit about, what other alternatives of funding. Found business credit cards. That afternoon, put in applications. I got $110,000 in an afternoon.
Okay, there you go.
You know, albeit it's gotten more difficult now than it was all those years ago. But
Lending's getting stricter and stricter.
absolutely,
Yeah.
it's an ever changing.
By the way, I want to point something out because we're always trying to educate on how money works and how money grows. There's a rule of 72. Rule of 72 says if you want to know how fast your money's doubling coming in or doubling going out, all you have to do is take your interest rate and you divide it by 72, and it'll tell you how fast that's doubling. Example, if I have an interest rate of 10% and I divide that by 72, then every 7.2 years, whatever I'm paying, if it's a $30,000 loan, let's use that as an example, then in 7.2 years, I'm actually paying $60,000, right? So at 10%. Now, some of you guys, I've seen clients where they've had, a 24% interest rate on a student loan. And I'm like, holy moly, do you understand how much money you're going to end up paying, right? So you really want to make sure that your interest rate is as low as possible. And I always say credit is simply short for credibility, right? They want to give you the money. I mean, this whole financial system and everything in America is based on the fact that they can lend you money. We went off the gold standard in the 1970s, went to the debt standard. So the way that you build wealth today is not trying to use your dollar. Dollar's devaluing faster than you can earn it. So what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to leverage the ability to get these loans, OPM, other people's money. You want to be able to leverage the ability to get, cash heavy from somebody else. And if your business didn't work out, you could, in a sense, dissolve that loan along with the business, right? But you do not want to impact your personal credit. You don't want to impact your personal life by especially trying to, we had to learn in a hard way is sometimes we did liquidate our 401ks and things of that nature, but you want to avoid using your money. You want to use OPM, other people's money, right?
Absolutely.
And so let's unpack that too. So credit, you've been in this space for a minute, and when you're helping somebody, let's talk about that. So your success rate right now, how many people are coming out? How fast do they come out of your program? What does that look like?
So when we bring on a client, first thing we're going to look at is what does their credit score look like? Mm-hmm. Do they have a business? And if they do have a business, how old is it? A general rule of thumb, when we're looking at the business side, when I first got into the funding space, we were able to get people funded if they had a business that was 60 days old, right? But it's changing ever so often that now 2 years has kind of become the golden standard,
right,
when it comes to age on a business. But
2 years and 8 months for a lot of people, yeah.
For a lot of people, correct. Now, when it comes to personal credit, we've gotten people done and funded we've gotten people done and funded as long as they have a 680 plus. Mm-hmm. Now, when I say a 680 plus, it's not so much the score itself, it's the contents of the credit file.
Right.
Because if someone could be a 750 credit score, but if they only have one primary account, that's right, going to be a difficult file to get done.
So, side note real quick, I had a client a long time ago, probably 18, 19 years ago, and it was the first time I ever saw an 800 credit score. She couldn't even buy a car, and I'm like, how? She has an 800 credit score. They're like, yeah, but look at the credit profile. There's nothing on it. She just has clean credit.
Yep.
And I'm like, really? So unpack that for the viewers to understand, like, what do I need on a credit profile to really show that I have a robust, because there's revolving credit.
There's installment credit.
Installment credit.
Yep. So when we're looking, I'm going to give you an example of what a perfect client would look like that's not unattainable for the average person. So the first thing is going to be four primary accounts.
Okay.
And that really is going to consist of one kind of installment account, whether that's an auto loan, personal loan, something along those lines. A mortgage. Mortgage is always going to be most optimal.
An installment loan is where you're making payments every single month.
Yep.
And it's a standard payment. So it's a $500 a month, $1,000 a month, that's an installment loan.
Yep.
Okay.
And for someone that might not have something like a mortgage or an auto loan or a personal loan, they can do something simple like Experian Boost.
Okay.
Where they'll take your phone bill, your electric, your rental payment and turn those into installment loans.
Okay.
So that's a little workaround that someone could do. Now, the other accounts, those really got to be credit cards, personal credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look at it, we look at what is the sum total of all their limits combined.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the gold standard is turned into about $15,000 or above.
Okay.
Now, someone says, hey, I want to do this kind of stuff, but I only have a total of $5,000. Well, a simple fix could be an authorized user account.
Right.
Whether if that's a mom, a dad, a sibling, a partner, whoever that is, that you can get added onto their credit card with good history, of course, with a high limit and low usage, that could be a workaround. So,
And that's what we call AU, authorized user.
Yep.
I remember when I went through my a divorce years ago. Divorces kill your credit and everything, guys. Matter of fact, if you ever played The Rat Race by Robert Kiyosaki, the divorce is like the hardest hit on the board because it literally can reset your whole everything that you're building. That being said, though, AUs, authorized user, is the hack. Mm-hmm. If you happen to know anybody that has good credit, that has credit that's been around for years, you don't want somebody that's only been around for months. You want prefer.
Yeah, you don't want to get an AU on something that's going to hurt you more than help you.
Right. So and I end up having some family members that had 10-year credit cards and things of that nature, and I told them, hey, add me as an authorized user, and when the credit card comes in, just cut it up. I just need the credit.
Yep.
I don't need the card. I'm not going to spend your money. Not going to do it. I just need the credit to bounce back. So authorized user is a way to go around building that credit faster. And guys, if you have kids, I would say add your kids as an authorized user.
As soon as you can, yeah.
That way they're starting to build credit even before they even turn an adult, right? And then that way, when they want to go get a business loan, when they want to go start their life, boom, they're already headed in the right direction so that they don't have to build it from scratch. So,
yep. Going on adding kids and such, when I sold cars, I had one lady come in, she was 18 years old, had an 800 plus credit score with 5 authorized user accounts from her mom and dad. So to your point, that works fantastically well. But after we look at the credit file, if that's in place, everything looks good there. Also, mind you, credit card inquiries. That's a silent killer when it comes to funding.
Credit card
inquiries.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have too many of those, it's game over.
Gotcha.
So when we bring a client on, one of the first things we'll do, whether if they have great credit or bad credit, we're going to wipe all those out.
Gotcha.
And it takes us about 72 hours.
Okay.
Because we actually call into the credit bureaus on behalf of clients.
Nice.
Yep.
So you get their credit clean. Then let's talk about the business funding side. So let's say I'm a random guy. I don't have a business yet. Can we help them get a business?
We can. So one of our processes we'll do for a new client that has no previous structure is we'll actually help them get an LLC structured, set up, get their EIN number. Like when we onboard a client that doesn't have a business, we'll actually do that on the onboarding call. They'll leave that onboarding call with an LLC and an EIN number in tow. Right. Once that's complete, we'll have them go set up bank accounts. Banking relationships is becoming critical.
Right.
If you want a lot of money, you got to have a relationship with somebody. Right. Because if you go to, let's say if I go to you and you didn't know who I was, and I said, hey, Patrick, can you give me $50,000? And you have nothing, don't know me at all.
Yeah.
Are you going to give me $50,000? No. A bank won't either.
Right.
So build those relationships, and that only will take you about 30 days, realistically. So what we'll do is we'll have them set up that LLC. Well, we'll set it up with them, start some banking relationships, and then we'll get like the first 15 to 20 grand. With that, though, we'll then go behind that and purchase an H corporation. Right? Once we have that
H corporation
now that's 2+ years old, then we kind of repeat some of that process, but now we'll turn that 15 to 20 into a couple $100,000 in working capital.
And that is the beautiful hack of the money game
Absolutely.
there. Aged corporations, a lot of people are sleeping on that. And I will say that if you're looking at aged shelf corporations, you really have to know who you're getting it from sometimes, because you don't want anything negative attached to that previous company, right? But there are companies out there that these attorneys and lawyer staff, they go out and they create a company, and they know how powerful these are going to be, and so they literally create this company and they set it on a shelf, and they leave it there to age like fine wine. And so depending on the state that it's in, right? Like Delaware, Montana. There's a couple of great states. Texas,
Wyoming's a great one as
Wyoming.
well.
There's some couple great states that's going to add value to that age shelf corporation. And then the years, because the years are like the hack, because you need 2 years and 8 months. So if you can find a age corporation over 5 years. And then another big thing that what you want to look at with age shelf corporations is the name, right? You don't want, there's what they call the NAIC.
NICA codes.
Right.
Yep.
You want to explain that real quick?
Yeah, so NICA codes is basically just what is the industry the business is in. So a couple of examples of what are high risk and low risk. High risk examples are going to be anything that says financial, that has real estate, that has even now trucking.
Transportation. I was
Transportation.
Just about to say, trucking and transportation, the huge risk.
Yep.
You could lose a whole load. They don't want to give you money because you could fail that business. And the failure rate in that business.
Since COVID, so many people got into transportation and failed,
Right.
It's become a high risk industry.
Right.
So now some examples of low risk. In my opinion, the golden ticket is anything that's generic, like marketing, consulting, administration. Those have always been clean.
Right. Like if you want to have a trucking company, don't call it trucking, don't call it transport, don't call it any of that. Call it logistics.
Yep.
Because logistics is a generic word.
Yep.
Right. Even if you're in real estate, the reason that real estate is high risk is because, before somebody renews their license, 80% fall off in their first 1 to 2 years. Right. And they do not only about 20% renew their license.
Yeah.
So the turnover ratio in real estate is huge. And so if you're going to put anything, you'd put, I'm a consultant.
Yep.
Because you're a real estate consultant. You're consulting on houses and home buying and the process. So it's better to name your company that than to name your company the real estate team.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Right. So.
And then on top of that as well, don't be afraid, even though if someone is ultimately going to go into real estate, don't be afraid to shy away from going into real estate. About 30% of my clients are in real estate in one way or another.
Oh, yeah.
Whether if that's investing, they're doing flips, whatever be that case is, a ton of my clients that utilize working capital, utilize credit card stacking, go into real estate because there's such a fine way and an easy way for someone to make a lot of money in real estate leveraging credit cards.
100%. Matter of fact, we have a couple of deals that we're working on where you got their business funded up front, right? Where you're helping them get the capital and things of that nature. And then we're working with Alex on the other end of getting that even more capital, working with some hedge funds and guys like that to help create the ability to go out and purchase bigger pieces of real estate using collateral loans and stuff like that. So this is why your relationships is key. You want to have a network of business professionals who know what they're doing, first of all. One thing I had to learn early on, and still sometimes I make this mistake, is working with friends and family is some of the hardest things to do because they abuse your relationship, right? They put it, they're going to hope that you're going to do everything while they just sit back and get rich off of your efforts. And I'm not saying that happens with everybody, but I'm saying that definitely happens a lot more than it should. You would think that your friends and the people that you've had these great relationships with for years are going to want to be on the same page with you. And it didn't always happen that way. And the best thing that you can do is find other professionals who are in the business and been doing it for years, can show credibility and that they know what they're doing, that they're an expert in their field, and partner with those guys. And then you can bring some family along if you want to, because at that point, they're just more like luggage versus more like business partners.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And plus, if you go into business with friends or family, if it doesn't work out, that might hurt the relationship as well, right? And you might be thinking, man, I don't want to keep doing this with so-and-so, and you don't want to hurt that relationship. So you just keep trying to trug through, and it hurts both of you in the long run. Yeah, exactly.
So somebody gets a business, and let's talk about that process. Where do we start for funding, or it's credit card stacking, and the kind of bring us through that journey. What are the different tranches or phases that we go through?
So the first phase for our clients is always going to be making sure the credit is good, and that takes us. Currently, we've had some really fast successes with turnaround on credit repair. I mean, I just got notification from my account managers that we have one client, it's been a week, has gone up 100 plus points
Nice.
on credit, on Experian specifically.
Nice.
Which Experian is important because about 85% of lenders utilize Experian as their primary bureau. So utilizing that, once credit is cleaned, we go through the business, and even if someone has an existing business, we're always going to make sure everything on that business is properly structured. I'll give you a brief example of why that's important. About 6 months ago, we onboarded a guy. He lives in Texas. He owns a carpet cleaning business. He'd been trying to fund himself for about 2+ years. Denial after denial. He couldn't get a penny from anybody, and he didn't know why. So on the onboarding call, I started going everything. I said, hey, pull up your EIN letter, and then let's pull out your article of incorporation and the Secretary of State website. What we noticed is on the Secretary of State site and his EIN paperwork had a different business address. That was a huge red flag. So we made one amendment on the SOS, Secretary of State site. We made one amendment. Fast forward about 3 weeks after that, he already had his first $70,000.
Nice.
So it's important that when we onboard somebody, or even if you're trying to do it yourself, is make sure everything matches.
Right.
Make sure you have a business phone number, right? Not your cell phone. If you can, get a toll-free line like 800-888-844, whatever that is, but have a separate phone number. Because when lenders look at this, to your point, lenders want to give money out, but they're very stingy and they're protective of their money.
Yeah.
So they look for every reason not to give money out because why? They want to make sure they're getting paid back.
So here's a funny thing. I don't know if you know this, but the UCC, Uniform Commercial Code, all laws in America basically run off of commercial code, okay? And if you go look at legalese, which is the language of legal, a human being is a monster, and you cannot lend monies to monsters, right? So this is why you need to get it out of your human name. Well, you know, I'm using both legalese and regular English, but you need to get it out of your name, and you need to put it in a legal fiction name, right? Legal fiction means fiction. It's a straw man. It's not real necessarily, but it's legal. It's 100% paperwork, the same thing that you need in order to be a human, you know, using those words lightly, but is that you need a birth certificate and you need a social security number. Well, when you go create a legal fiction, your articles of formation and your EIN number are your birth certificate and your social security number. And so it's a you, but not a you, right? And because that's a commercial thing and because it goes into, you know, the commercial field, they will lend that money. But they don't want to lend monsters money. So people, you know, try to get money on their personal. It's harder to do it that way. And I want to point this out as well. People be watching, you know, all these online gurus, and they put out, hey, man, all you got to do is do this and this and this, and you're going to go get $30,000, $100,000, $200,000 in funding. But what they don't realize is, like, even what you just said earlier, like 85% of companies or credit card companies are you going to use Experian. But then even when you do that, you have to know how to stack it correctly and apply for the application.
The sequence? Exactly.
The sequencing of it. Talk about that, the sequencing.
So the sequencing is when you're looking at, so for example, again, I'll go back to us, is when we onboard someone, the first lenders we're going to go after are going to be first Chase Bank. Chase Bank is because of the 524 rule. When you exceed 5 accounts, so 5 approvals within 24 months, so 2 years, it becomes incredibly more difficult. Now, there are some circumstances, and I can only say this from my personal standpoint, with relationship managers. And for those of you that doesn't know what a relationship manager is, these are people that work at the bank. These are people that work at the bank and specifically work in the business lending portion of said lender. And that could be, again, Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, U.S. Bank, Truist, any of your major banks, and even some of the small regional ones and credit unions. They have people that work there that their entire job is to work with businesses to get approved for lending. And that's from credit cards, lines of credit, loans, SBA lending, and so on. But going to the 524, if you have a good RM, they might be able to get past that 524 rule, right? But for new clients, for us, we want to try to hit those first so we're not running into that issue.
Right.
Okay. The second bank we always go after is going to be Bank of America. Bank of America is because they're really sensitive to hard inquiries. If you have too many of them, good rule of thumb is beyond 4 on any bureau. You can get it done, but it gets more difficult.
Right.
I come from the standpoint of lending is go to the path of least resistance. Right. Don't try to bulldog your way through a funding sequence. Right. Look at it, be strategic with it. Look at where the banks are going to pull that hard inquiry from, because again, hard inquiries can be the silent killer. Look where they're going to pull from, and then either go after one bureau or go after multiple. So essentially, when I say multiple, look at where each card is going to pull from and get like 5 cards, but each bureau only might get 2 hard inquiries versus one getting a whole bunch of them, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%.
Then once that's completed, again, for us, we will then go ahead and remove all the hard inquiries. Now, why is that important? It's because on a business credit card, you're eligible to remove the hard inquiry from the personal credit because it does not post on personal credit. That account will post on your business credit report. That is what makes the eligibility of removal for that hard inquiry. Once that's complete, then we just recycle the next, we call it funding rounds. So then we move to the next funding round, get our approvals or sometimes denials. And that's something that someone has to be very cognizant of. And a denial is not the end of the world.
Right.
You just get the inquiry removed, but you have to learn, why was that account denied in the first place?
Right.
And if you can kind of see a pattern, it's all indicating to this one thing, we will put a pause on the funding rounds, fix whatever that problem is, and then resume.
Gotcha.
First of all, I wanted to say a generous thank you for setting up a call with me and my team here at Impact Society. Couple things you need to be made aware of leading into our next conversation we're going to have with you. On that call, we're going to cover a few things. We're going to talk about you. We're going to talk about your business, how our services will help you get to that next level, leveraging OPM. OPM stands for Other People's Money, and that's what we're doing this for, is to grow your business so that you can scale and develop the company or the idea that you're trying to do. On that call, I have a couple of favors of you to do, though, in being prepared for it. Number one, have a copy of your credit report. That's critical. Whether if that's going to be Credit Karma, Experian, Smart Credit, Identity IQ, or even annualcreditreport.com. It doesn't matter. We just want to see what's on the report so we can give you an educated idea into how long this process is going to take. If you have a business, kindly go to nav.com, sign up for a free account. You don't got to spend any money, but sign up there. We want to see the business reports that you have. If you do not have a business yet, that's totally okay. If we end up working together, that's going to be one of the first things we're going to do when we onboard you, is get you that business and that EIN number. On that call, you'll also be speaking with my team and potentially myself on that. During that call, it's going to take us about 30 to 45 minutes to give you a best idea and see if it makes sense for us to work together here at Impact Society. Again, my name is Colin Papineau. I'm thrilled to potentially have you a part of this movement. Have a great day. Again, path of least resistance.
Yeah, and look, man, everybody wants to go out and try to supposedly save some money. And, they're taking these DIY courses, do it yourself. And, they're hoping that they're going to be able to do this. But to me, this is like, somebody who's a street fighter versus somebody who's been training for the last 10 years in jiu-jitsu. Look, your talent will never overcome skill, okay? So you could be talented and have this personality that you're going to go get it and you're going to go figure it out and stuff. But if you're not truly locked in to make sure that you're really going to become an expert in that, you're probably going to be missing a lot. And it's better for you to partner with somebody because, number one, you can get the training from that person and expedite your learning curve. I mean, think of every time you partner with somebody and you're willing to pay that first fee or so, think of that like your schooling, your education fund, right? Like, every time I've invested and I've made mistakes. I've invested in the wrong people. I've invested in the wrong partners and stuff like that. But don't get me wrong. Every time I did, I learned something, right? I was able to take away something from those relationships so that it helps me find the next better partner and stuff like that. And so, I want to tell people it's better for you to plug in with somebody like, calling on credit and getting business funding than trying to do it yourself. I get there's a lot of DIY programs out there, but there's so many nuances to the system and to the whole industry as a whole as it works, that if you have somebody, and how long, over 5 years?
Over 5 years, yes, sir.
You have somebody that's been doing it, training, been doing this over 5 years, has over 4,000 clients plus? Look, death by 1,000 cuts. This guy's had 4,000 clients that he's worked with. He's looked at different files, different scenarios, been able to help. Even when I was in real estate, I would tell clients, the real estate team I was on was the Schrader Group, and we sold 650 homes a year. The average realtor may sell 20. And it's like, do you want to work with a guy who sells 20 homes a year, or do you want to work with a guy who sells 650 homes a year? Do you want to work with a realtor who's your friend or whatever, and he's part-time, or do you want to work with somebody who's doing this full-time every day, day in, day out? They're updated on the market stats. They're updated on what's going on. Man, all day I'd work with the person that's considered a professional than the guy who's part-time.
Absolutely.
Right? And so having the right business relationships is key. And that's why if you get on Impact Society's website, you're going to be able to find Colin's link so that you can sign up for credit repair, so that you can sign up for business funding. And then in that process, we're not just doing it for you. I mean, we are, but
we're also going to educate people as we do.
Educate people as we go. And you have a whole team.
Exactly.
It's not just you, right?
Nope.
So a lot of these guys out here trying to do, credit repair and all this stuff by themselves because they want the money.
Right.
Look, he even already said it earlier. Money comes as a byproduct of all the impact that you create. He did things not for the money at all, but for the client. And because he led with that personality, he led with that service to the client, that's what's making him successful today. People that lead with only money. I'm only going to help you if there's money, or I want to help you because I want the money. You have misunderstood business as a whole. Mm-hmm. You're operating in the business world with an employee mindset. I'm going to be 100% honest with you, because an employee mindset says, I'm not going to do something unless I get paid to do it. I'm not going to show up unless I'm going to get paid to do it. Business mindset is completely different from an employee mindset. We do things with no expectation of getting money, because we understand that I only get paid if I bring enough value. Right?
Absolutely.
And so our goal is, matter of fact, let's talk on that. So you have a part of your program that is guaranteed or your money back.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right?
We want to put our money where our mouth is. So when we're working with somebody, and there's a little bit of a sliding scale on that guarantee, but at a bare bones minimum is they're getting $60,000 in approvals.
Right. At
a bare bones. So when we bring somebody on, and that guarantee will also will be standing even if they have horrible credit, even if they don't have a business. Because our approach to funding is not just throw out a bunch of applications. That's a waste of time and a waste of resources. Instead, we want to look at it as, let's build out the business properly. Let's get personal credit structured properly. Let's build out business and corporate credit. Let's build those relationships with the lenders and then go into funding. So no matter where somebody is at the time of enrollment, we will get them to where they need to be.
Amen.
And with that standard is why we could run at a 98% success rate.
There you go.
And
98% success rate. Hold on, we want to overstep that real quick, because imagine if Steph Curry or anybody out there could shoot and hit 98% of their shots. That's huge.
Yeah.
Right? So keep going.
So with the 98% success rate, that's because we get so ingrained into the process with somebody. And just like what you were mentioning before, people trying to DIY, people trying to buy courses that will just educate them, that will only get you so far.
Right.
And I've had to learn that very personally. I've spent multiple 5 figures in my life as a business owner trying to learn things. Right. And yes, has it helped me? Sure. But have I bought a lot of courses I never finished? Absolutely. Right? So when you're stuck in a phase of just trying to learn without execution, it will only get you so far.
That's right.
So rather than bringing people onto my program, rather than just giving them a fish We want to teach them to fish and then also continue to give them fish.
Amen.
Right? So that way they can get the funding that they need and educate them and set them up. So if they need more in the future, if they want to replicate the process that we have done for them and have showed them to do on, say, another business, on their next venture, they're able to do so.
Awesome.
And for the 98%, I also look at the 2% of people that don't find success within this. Right? I almost look at the 2% more than I look at the 98. Even though I'm super proud of that, I want to make sure, okay, how can we hedge our bets the best so we can serve our clients?
Hey, man, that's actually a trait of successful people. I had one of the top realtors in the city on the podcast, and he made a comment that he does focus more on where we went wrong with the clients that didn't get the home or whatever, more than the success of, oh, I got you in a home. Because you can only learn so much from the success, but you can learn a lot more from the...
Whole lot more.
And so that's a success trait, because that's something that's common with people who have a successful mindset, right? Another successful mindset is that you understand that you have to invest in you. You have to invest in your ability to learn and grow and have the resources and tools. And there's so many people that go out there and they're scared to invest.
No one's been uber successful doing it by themselves.
Man, come on. Team is team. Together, everyone accomplishes more, right? You don't know everything by yourself.
Nope.
And so you need a group of people. That's why I love surrounding myself. One quality I would say about myself that has made me who I am today is that even though I'm pretty smart, fairly smart, I went and took an IQ test. Says I'm 145. I don't know, maybe. But what has made me who I am is I put smarter people around me. I go and find the guys who are already at the top of the echelon or at least have a high success rate, and I plug in with them. And I never hang out at the bottom. It's not a trait. It's not a trait of mine.
You want to be a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah, I'm trying to get away from the bottom. Right. So why would I want to go hang out at the bottom, right? And so I'm always the guy that, like, you know, I want to find the best people and find out what you're doing. When I used to work at Keller Williams when I first got in real estate, and there was a guy that years later when I opened up my real estate brokerage, he had came to my grand opening. He goes, Pat, I knew you were going to be successful. And I said, how did you know that? He said, because when you were at Keller Williams, you would be watching the leaderboards. And then if you saw that leader coming down the hallway, you'd be like, hey, real quick, give me 60 seconds. Tell me one thing that's, you know, that you're doing that's helping you right now in this season, right? And I wanted to absorb information.
Yep.
And where I'm at today, I mean, even when I started getting into financial services, I didn't jump into financial services. What I did was I read 15 books on the subject, and then I called in experts, people that were, you know, hard hitters in their company, and then I'm just picking their brain, learning the strategies, and then, hey, would you refer me to one of your clients? I just want to have a conversation. How is it working for you? How did you do that? What did you do? And that's what allowed me to get to where I'm at. It's never, like, I'd rather learn from somebody else's mistakes than my own because I already make enough of my own, right? And so being able to have that person that's already done 4,000 transactions, that's already seen, you know, stuff that I haven't seen yet, you're going to be able to tell me, hey, when you get down on the 2nd Street, there's going to be this, take a left right there, because when you get, right, you're going to help me avoid certain pitfalls and that's why DIY is cool. It's okay. But let's be realistic. If you want success, it's the partnerships that you gain that are really going to take you there.
Mm-hmm. Especially in the finance industry, because, again, I've been doing this as a service for 5+ years. I'm still learning things.
Right.
Because the finance world changes all the time. Banking regulations, underwriting regulations, all of that changes on a regular basis. So for my team, we have to be plugged into those with our relationship managers, calling into lenders, hey, what's this, what's that, how do we get approved for this, right? We have to do that work because what might have worked last week might not work now. So we have to constantly keep our thumb on that heartbeat of what the banks look for. right? And that's one of the great services that we bring to the table is all of that is already done for you,
Right.
right? Could someone go out, spend a bunch of money on education or go to YouTube University? Could someone find success in that? Sure, maybe. But again, how do you hedge your best bet?
Right.
Because in the realm of business, I call it the most difficult game of checkers you can ever play is being in business.
Right.
Any move could be the worst mistake you can think of.
Right.
So versus trying to do this and potentially fail, partner with the right people, as you said earlier. Get with the right people in your inner circle to help you escalate.
Right.
Get to that next step, right? And it might not be easy and it might not be fast, but you will get there.
Right. And it might not even be in your circle. Sometimes you got to leave your circle.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go out and find new people. And again, that's why you have Impact Society. We are already built. I've been doing this for over 18 years in business, and I've built a lot of relationships. And those relationships are what you're going to be able to leverage when you join the movement. When you join the movement, we have Colin. You're going to have a link to his website. You're going to have a link to his calendar. We're going to have educational videos on there. We're going to be doing podcasts. So on Thursday nights at 8 p.m., I do mastermind time for people that want to learn, they want to get on, they want to learn some strategies and things of that nature. And we're going to have guests. We're going to have people coming on those so that they can answer your questions, right? So that anybody that wants to learn how to help go to the next level, we're trying to provide as much value for you to change your life, upgrade your life, because we want to go out there and impact the world.
And one of the great services we provide for clients that I myself do a lot of this is when someone goes through these funding sequences, I consider what we do is not as a funding company. Mm-hmm. I look at this as a catalyst to get to the next stage in business. Mm-hmm. No one's gotten wealthy from getting access to a bunch of money. Nobody. It's how you utilize that working capital in your business that grows the wealth, grows and changes your life for the better.
That's right. And funny thing is, my favorite game is Monopoly. I love that game. I've played that game since I was a kid. And there's a couple of things I learned about Monopoly. Number one, you don't bring your own money.
Nope.
You leverage the banker's money. That's number one. Number two, just because you all get equal amounts of money does not mean you're going to win the game equally, right? It's going to be the guy with the best strategy. Number three, the person that doesn't invest, doesn't buy the property, is waiting, he's going to lose the game. Why? Because it's all about assets. Assets bring you money. If you have no assets on the board, you're not going to bring in more money, right? You have to hope that you're going to hit certain times and certain places on the board that'll give you pennies on the dollar versus consistently having rent come in from specific properties, right? And sometimes it's not always boardwalk and park place that's going to give you the money. Sometimes it's Mediterranean and Baltic. It's so cheap, but you land on that more often. So, it's diversification. Sometimes you want to own one side or have a couple of, in the hood properties, and sometimes, but you got to know where you're shopping and know where you're putting your money, right? And then the last one that I get is never think about the game from the board. Like when I play the game, there's stuff that I do outside the board. Like, hey, I will let you land on my property 7 times if you do. And so I'm negotiating with people outside the board. I think too many people, we play the game from inside the board.
Yep.
Right? And you're going to be able to do a lot more in life when you play outside. It's like when I was drawing and stuff when I was a kid, I could never color in the line. I was never good with staying within the lines. I've always been an outside the box kind of guy, and so trait of success, I think. I don't know.
Well, it's just like being a problem solver.
Yeah.
Business is so much being a problem solver more than, like you're saying, staying inside the lines, staying inside the box.
Right.
You have to think outside of it to solve the problem.
Right. So, we talked about credit. We talked about business funding. Hey, matter of fact, I want to talk about this real quick because if y'all don't see the size of Colin, tell the viewers what your extracurricular activity is?
I do strongman.
He does strongman. Yeah. He says it in so light now. I do strongman.
I like picking up rocks.
Picking up rocks. Yeah. Tell them what they actually. So you pick up rocks. You pick up cars. You pick up.
So yeah, So strongman is a competition. It's like CrossFit for adults in a way. Whoever can move one weight from here to here the fastest typically is the one who wins. Right?
How'd you get into strongman? You just looked in the mirror and was like, I think I'm
Yeah,
fit
so
for
I've
this.
always been big. Going to school, I went to a charter school. I had a graduating class of 11 people, so I never had an opportunity to play actual sports.
Gotcha.
But growing up in southern Arizona, I mean, one of my first jobs, I worked in a hay barn. So I lift hundreds and hundreds of hay bales a day, right? So I've always had just an innate ability to move big things quickly and efficiently. And it's also trained my mind, again, problem solving. If I can't lift this, I got to figure out, okay, how do I do it? How can I build the strength and the ability to do it? Business is very similar in that manner. If I can't accomplish something in business, I have to analyze it in the same way like you're mentioning. I have to think of, okay, how can I do this in an efficient manner? And even if I have to think outside the box to accomplish my goal, I have to do those things, right?
Man, growing up, I'm born and raised in Mississippi. And at 14, I was able to start driving. I had my hardship license and stuff, and I worked out. There was a couple of farms. I worked for two chicken farms, and then in between those times, I'd like go bush hog people's fields and stuff. Well, anyways, this lady asked me to come out. They had baled the square bales.
Yeah.
On, I think it was like 40 acres of all square bales, right? Holy moly. I never did that again. I put my, I had a standard truck. I put it in one, and basically I had to keep up with my truck that was, going about 5
Creeping
miles.
above, yeah.
And I'm over here like, whew. And man, when I say if you're from Mississippi or you're from the South or you're, from the country life, you understand what cornbread fed really means.
Yep.
Like it, when I got done that day, holy moly. My body was hurting. And so I just wanted to point that I thought that was a good side note for people to kind of learn a little bit more about who you are. And glad to be in partnership with you, man. Look to keep feeding that business. Before we leave, what's one advice for somebody who's thinking like, well, I want to get in business. I want to learn how I could use some of these strategies. What's some advice that you could give them for their success?
Best advice I probably could give for that is don't be afraid.
There you go.
Don't be afraid of failure. I failed plenty of times in life, and I've also at times, I'll give you a brief example. About 18 months ago, for my funding business, I had to shut everything down. We grew too fast. And we got to a point where our back-end team could not keep up with new clients. So rather than just try to trudge through, hire a bunch of people, and put a Band-Aid, I shut down the entire front-end department of my team. I lost all of my sales team. I lost my sales manager because I couldn't pay him. We had no new deals coming in. But I kept the entire back-end to not only continue fulfillment on the clients that we had, but we can build new systems. And if I was afraid of losing that money, right, I probably would have burned the whole thing down long term. Right. I probably would have gotten out of funding if I would have kept trying to push through it. So instead, without fear, I said, let's shut everything down. Let's lose a bunch of money. Let's spend my own money to make payroll and things on the back end team. So if someone's trying to consider the idea of going into business for themselves, do it without fear, right? Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Don't be afraid of making that initial step forward.
That's right.
You have to.
Have to. I love that. That's great advice. Because I think that, it's analysis paralysis.
Absolutely.
And so many people have this personality that they want to have it all figured out before they start. Or they want to at least, and they're just overthinking. And I have an acronym for fear. So when you say, don't be afraid, don't have fear, I have an acronym for fear, and that's false expectations appearing real. Like, you've built up in your mind all these different scenarios, and here's the sad part about your mind, and I don't want to say sad part, but the crazy part is that your mind can't tell the difference between a truth and a lie. And so when you start creating in your mind all of these scenarios. What if, and what about this, and da 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 da. You don't realize your brain doesn't know that that's just you making it up. That's crazy, right? Your brain doesn't realize that that's just you making it up. And yet, when your brain makes it up, it's just a dream. It's just you creating it in your mind because you're trying to think of all these scenarios. It then starts stimulating an emotion. And that's when, and I had talked about this before on another podcast, when alignment happens, action starts taking place, right? Well, when fear then stimulates an emotion, the action is actually inaction because analysis paralysis. So, you got to be able to analyze a little bit, analyze enough, but it's better to take action and go out there and fail your way through life and learn, because that's actually what's going to make you better. I mean, I was never trained formally to fight, but I went through enough fights that eventually I had a good success where I could knock you out pretty fast if I had.
Well, it's also like everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, right, Tyson.
Exactly. And it's the same idea with all this. You can think your way through every possible scenario, and you make that leap thinking you have it figured out, and right away you hit a snag.
Yeah. Something that you didn't think about.
Right. And it happens to all of us. Yeah. And it's the important part of, okay, this sucked. How do I pivot? How do I learn from this so I don't make the same mistake again?
Right.
Right? Just like when I onboard someone that works for me, I tell them, I want you to screw up fast and screw up big. That way you don't make the same mistake again.
Amen.
And when they do screw up, I don't give them a hard time. I said, what did we learn?
Yeah.
How can we pivot from this? How do we get better?
I like that.
Right? Same way in business.
Absolutely. So, great advice. Don't overthink it. Take more action. They say, a matter of fact, Dayton Schrader told me one time, he said, think less and do more.
Yep.
Right? A lot of people are out there, they're just in their mind. They're overthinking it and they're doing nothing. Right? I'd rather have ignorance on fire than knowledge on ice. And so you can think you're the smartest guy out there, but you're not doing anything. The guy who's ignorant, the one that you consider ignorant, he's burning down more stuff than you are because you're not doing anything with it. And
for this, there's been a lot of people in this world that's had billion-dollar ideas that did not have the means to put it into fruition. Mm-hmm. That's where services like ours comes in so pivotal.
Amen.
Leveraging OPM gives
money.
People the ability to jumpstart.
That's right.
Right? Someone can't go big if they got $1,000 in their pocket.
Yeah, let's be real too. I mean, yes, billion-dollar companies, multi-million-dollar companies, the thing that they did differently is they didn't use their money and they leveraged the ability to get people to fund them, right?
Yeah.
Whether that be from private equity, whether that be from, our processes. And our processes have, eventually, because we have to take you through tiers. So you're going to go through credit repair. You're going to start with credit stacking. You're going to eventually get into lines of credit. And then we can get into different stuff like hedge funds and private equity and angel investing and all this. But we can't get there unless we start somewhere.
Yep.
So thank you for your time, Colin. I appreciate you for joining us, man. Look forward to a long business relationship with you. The link is going to be on our Impact Society website. However, let people know how they could find you.
So you can find me on social media, of course.
Okay.
Very visible on Instagram. A lot of my business comes from Instagram.
Okay.
You can find me on YouTube.
And what's your Instagram handle and all that?
So it's Colin_Papineau.
Spell that, because that...
COLIN_PAPINEAU.
There you go.
Difficult last name.
It's all right. So, again, guys, plug in with our movement and what we're doing. Leverage our resources and tools that we have available. And remember, we're here to help you learn how to become better. And that's why our motto is each one reach one, each one teach one. This is Impact Society.